Sit back and throw one back with your pinkies in the air and a middle finger to the world. And join me, the eclectic gentleman, Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and give it a big old thumbs up. Now let's get our wrestling history on. It is January 3rd, and we're going to start off as we always do with the happy birthdays. We got 3 notable birthdays today on January 3rd. First, one of my favorite short person wrestlers, am I allowed? One of my favorite midget wrestlers of all time, Lord Littlebrook, was born in 1929. Then, of course, good old JR, the voice of the Attitude Era, was born on 1952. And then, of course, the incomparable New Jack was born this day in 1963. All right, with birthdays out of the way, unfortunately, there is the other side of the coin. Notable deaths in the professional wrestling industry for January 3rd. On this day in 2018, we lost Mount Fuji, the number 1 face for Glow in the 1980s. She was pretty awesome. They portrayed her so cool in the documentary on Netflix. If you ever watch that, it was awesome. It was better than the actual Glow TV show. All right, with that sad news out of the way, let's go ahead and hit up some of the awesome things that happened on January 3rd in professional wrestling. 1977, Bruiser Brody defeats Fritz Von Erich to win the world-class American heavyweight title in Atlanta, Georgia. In 1978, Randy Savage defeats Don Kent for the NWA Mid-American Heavyweight title. Yeah, think about that. Randy Savage, pre-WWF, actually held several NWA championships, regional territory championships, of course, before going to the WWF, and then, of course, going to WCW. So that's something to think about there. Imagine Randy Savage never makes that jump to the WWF, and when his father's promotion goes away, folds, that he goes to the NWA full-time and never goes to the WWF. Imagine how things would have been different. Could we have had Randy as the top babyface in the NWA instead of Sting? Something to think about. Talk about it in the comments. What does everybody else think? In 1986, the Fabulous Freebirds, Terry Gordy, Michael Hayes, and Buddy Roberts, to me the personal best out of the group, defeats Brian Addis and Kerry and Kevin Von Erich in Dallas, Texas to win the world-class 6-man tag team titles. What does everybody feel about 6-man tags? I mean, I know they're very popular in Lucha Libre. They're popular in Japan. But why do you think they never took on in America? Or Canada, for that matter? You know, with the current WWE roster, do you think that there's enough people on the rosters to make it relevant? I mean, I know they have a hard time even booking regular tag team division, but if they could have somebody book the divisions, do you think there's enough people on the roster? And if so, who would be your teams? Who would be your top 2 teams? And of course, last but not least, 1987 WWF Saturday Night Main Event, the 9th edition. The main event saw Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff in that old school blue steel cage. Of course, this is the infamous match that had to be restarted when both men actually got out of the ring at the same time, feet touching the ground. Of course, there's these big replays and all this other stuff. And of course, the match ended up restarting, and no surprise, Hulk Hogan wins. Funny thing is, I actually had a conversation with Paul Orndorff in about early 2000s about this match, and he jokes that the timing, they're supposed to drop after they locked eyes across the cage on 3, and he purposely says he dropped about a half a second sooner so that he would actually drop first. So at least the crowd in the audience saw him drop first. So, funny story. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night. That's your wrestling history for January 3rd.